Hey everybody, Pastor Rick here. This is the Broadman Word for June 9th, 2021. I want to talk to you today about being an effective congregation. And a lot of the principles of effective teams apply to being an effective congregation. And today we're going to talk about the 6 characteristics of an effective team that come out of a book from Pat McMillan called The Performance Factor. And so you're used to being part of a team. Even if you've never been on a sports team, your family's a team. You're part of a team at work or any particular school group or social group you may have been in. So you're used to being part of teams. It's just kind of the way things are. But there's 6 things that successful teams do that successful congregations need to do. One of the things is a common purpose. It needs to be a purpose that elevates the team and the team members, and that thing unites them, and it is the thing that drives them, and hopefully they're united around something great for a good common cause. So common purpose for us as a congregation, our common purpose needs to be to advance the kingdom here in Cuyahoga Falls, Ohio, and the nation. Hopefully the world if we can. So that driving common purpose to serve God, glorify and honor God's name, and carry out the ministry of reconciliation to the best of our ability to be His ambassadors is our common purpose. It should be the thing that we unite around. It should be the thing that drives us. It should be the common purpose of each person in our spiritual family, our congregation. Another thing, accepted leadership. There must be clear leadership, and everyone must accept the leadership that's being given. A pastor or other church leader, he can lead way out in front of folks, but if nobody's following, then it's just a guy taking a walk. And so the acceptance of the leadership as biblical has to be demonstrated through the leader for sure. His characteristics, his preaching, teaching, guiding principles. But then folks need to be able to follow along behind, even if they don't necessarily agree with everything, as long as it's not unbiblical. They recognize the established leadership in the church as being from God and through God's purposes, and so they follow. So accepted leadership. Number 3, specialization of labor. Great teams have folks that do specific jobs really well. Diverse people, not necessarily the same. Diverse people of diverse skill sets, diverse backgrounds. They get placed into disparate jobs, just means different jobs. And together, they come together with synergy and they create something very special. So understanding what your specialization is, your specialized labor in the kingdom is critical to being part of an effective team, an effective congregation, and exercising the will of God here as He has designed it, with you very specially in mind, with your special skill set. Good relationship. Believe it or not, team members don't have to be besties, and they don't even have to have very close relationships. They have to have healthy relationships. They have to have respectful relationships. But they don't have to be all that great of friends. And so in the congregation, we talk about being part of the family, part of God's family, His adopted children. We talk about loving one another. We do have to have Christian love for one another, absolutely. Doesn't mean we have to be the best of friends. You're not going to be able to like everybody. That's not realistic. So does that mean you can't have a healthy, respectful relationship for that person as a member of your spiritual family, as a child of God, a special creation of God with their own special mission and their own way to support our common purpose? No, it doesn't mean that. It means that you should be able to do that. So good relationships, don't get that confused with the worldly definition of having to be just okay with everything and everybody. Okay, sure, because we're to live at peace with each other. But you don't necessarily have to be the best of friends with everybody to have a good relationship with them. Christianity allows us to do that. Agreed upon plan and process. You know, when I was in the military, we had these people called lieutenants, and they'd been in the military about 6.5 minutes. And the shining examples of them came out of one of the service academies, and you could tell those ones just seeing them walk down the street. And I've seen some of the most harebrained ideas come out of these young generals to be when they're lieutenants, and it's because they don't have very much time to make their bones before they will very quickly start getting left behind. But you know what? Because there was an agreed upon plan and process, in the military sake it's compulsory, but because there was an agreed upon plan and process that is tried and true, even the most harebrained ideas out of these lieutenants would achieve some level of success. Sometimes they would even work pretty well because everybody's on the same page and everybody's using the same process. So when you have an agreed upon plan and process, everyone knows what to do. Everybody knows what's to be done, and when, where, and how. So as a congregation, we need to be very aware of what everybody can do, what their giftedness is, what their special purpose is, and how to best employ that, and when, and most importantly, who. And then everybody uses the same plan. Everybody's heading the same direction. Everybody's achieving the same thing, just in your own unique way, because we're not robots and we're not all the same. So an agreed upon plan and process. And then good communication. There must be, on an effective team in an effective congregation, communication. It must be fast, it must be clear, it must be true, and it must be efficient. There can be a lot of trust built up in clear, consistent, and effective communication in the leadership and in each other. So we need to have the grace to communicate with each other on a Christian level, but we also need to have the courage to very clearly communicate and effectively communicate with each other, and often. Communication is key. So if you find a congregation where these things are in place, you'll likely find a very effective congregation. You'll certainly find one that is nice to be a part of, that you would enjoy. It doesn't necessarily guarantee big wins all the time, but what it does guarantee is that despite the ton of variables there are in this big world, in the larger scheme of things, the congregation is moving forward. The will of God's being done. God's good purposes are being promulgated in His kingdom. So, more often than not, in the real world, particularly in the days that we live now, if you take a look at these characteristics, it will definitely help you figure out what needs to be done in the congregation, what your role in the congregation needs to be, what direction the congregation needs to go, and how you can support your leadership in taking it in that direction. So, common purpose, accepted leadership, specialization of labor, good relationships, agreed upon plans and processes, and good communication. That's the key to an effective congregation. Now, I know, having seen this, and that you will tell your friends to watch it because they all need to see it too, that we're going to at BBC move forward with these 6 characteristics of an effective congregation. And not because I said so, but because we're all united around one common purpose: to advance the kingdom of God, to reconcile, exercise the ministry of reconciliation, bring as many people to the cross as we can, and glorify and honor the name of God in the process. Hey, listen, I love you. I hope you have a wonderful day. God bless, and we'll talk next time.